Ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
I'm part of the Kliq, isn't everybody?
Yes! 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 I got an idea, yeah. Beat up John Cena!
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Too sweet! Here goes the mother! This is where the power lies!
I am the man.
We need if you can survive!
It's showtime, folks!
The following episode is scheduled for one fall, and it is for your listening pleasure. This is In The Kliq.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and sitting right next to me once again is my brother, Tommy. How's it going, Tommy?
Good, how you doing?
And joining us once again virtually, like I've said many times before, like he's a member of the Thunderdome. It's our good brother from Pro Wrestling 101 on Instagram. It's Richard. How's it going, Richard?
Sup, jobbers?
That's right, we are jobbers, yeah.
We're the Malarkey brothers.
We're the U-Haul brothers. That was, remember, Jimmy Hart. Sorry, that's such an old story. I did an interview with Jimmy Hart, and he called Jimbo and I the U-Haul brothers. That was our tag name. He's probably used that line in so many interviews in different markets around the country. So
it seems fitting. It seems fitting.
Exactly. So welcome back to another episode of In The Kliq. Remember to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and follow us on social, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So much to get into. Of course, we will break down this week in WWE, going over Raw, NXT, NXT UK, and SmackDown. But before we get into that, some breaking news that came out from the world of WWE this past Friday afternoon, I think it was. Here on the West Coast for us, it was like, late Friday afternoon. So big news, WWE released Zelina Vega from their roster. I mean, currently she was on SmackDown. She recently got drafted there. And so what happened was, so WWE, I saw the tweet, and it said WWE has come to the terms on the release of Zelina Vega. We wish her all the best in her future endeavors. And I saw that and I was like, whoa, oh my God. So immediately within the next 5, 10, 15 minutes, just the whole wrestling, internet, social media world just exploded. Everyone's talking about it, reacting, sharing it. And the interesting part about all this, so 10 minutes earlier, she tweeted out, I support unionization. That was her tweet 10 minutes before WWE's tweet. And so got a lot of people speculating, oh my God, what's going on? That's something you don't normally see a WWE superstar tweet out. And then 10 minutes later, we see the tweet from WWE. So a lot to speculate. There is some more follow-up. This all happened on Friday afternoon, and now the weekend's here. So were some extra news that came out later that night and all throughout the weekend a little bit. So we'll kind of get through that as well. But just, Richard, your initial thoughts on this announcement?
I think it's a loss for WWE. It's a loss for Zelina. Mm-hmm. I understand why they did it.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing a lot of backlash at WWE for it, but let me ask you this, Danny. Mm-hmm. You're a high profile public figure in the Bay Area, right?
Try to be, I think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be modest.
So for those of you who don't know, Danny works for radio station 107.7 The Bone. Danny, what would happen if The Bone asked you not to do this podcast anymore?
It kind of depends on the situation.
Would you stop the podcast because they asked you to? Lose your job and your benefits, and
if I had to lose, I don't want to lose my job, so I got to kind of fall in line.
So how would your work feel if you said that you weren't going to do that and then you made a secret account to start your own different podcast, even though they asked you not to do it?
I mean, they'll frown down upon it and be like, okay, you're going against our wishes.
Let's say that you knew that this was a fireable offense.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean,
if you were warned, I mean, that's where my sympathy goes out the door.
Okay.
Like, it's not like this came out of nowhere. It's not like there was cuts on Friday. This was someone that disobeyed them, and they knew what the repercussions could be.
Yeah.
So when you look at like people that got let go earlier this year, and you got to keep your job,
yeah,
like, how am I supposed to feel bad for this person? And I like Zelina Vega a lot.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, I'm like, stupid mistake.
Yeah, so just to kind of break it down a little bit, what Richard is referring to, and I think most of the hardcore fans kind of already know what's going on here, but for any of the casual people who don't follow the dirt sheets and whatnot on a regular basis, so we all know about the situation with WWE and the third-party accounts that superstars had for the last, and then this has been going on for the last couple months and shutting down. Most recently, or the biggest one, was Cameo and Twitch. Cameo seems to be kind of settling down now, and a lot of those accounts have stopped. But Twitch is the big one.
They've stopped because WWE is now doing their own version of a Cameo,
and like meet and greets and stuff. So
they're getting income that way.
Yeah. So right now the main topic is Twitch. That's the big one, and so a lot of these superstars use Twitch. They stream, they play video games, interact with the list or the fans that way. All that stuff. And so, and look, we don't need to go into details because, like, it's been discussed so many times on this podcast and other podcasts. Like, so many people broke it down. So, just specifically with Zelina Vega's situation, she's one of the people who was kind of vocal about her Twitch and wanted to keep it going. Her and her husband, Aleister Black, have an account.
This wasn't even Twitch. Do you know this? She had a secret OnlyFans.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah. So I was gonna get to that one too. No. Thank you for bringing that up. So,
no nudity.
So the Twitch stuff, they have a big following there, and she was hesitant to give it up. I think her brother was running the account in the last couple weeks or so, but she didn't want to give it up, and she kept streaming this whole time. Her and Paige, I think, were the two big names that kept streaming up until this point. Everyone else suspended their accounts. And until they figure out, WWE's trying to figure out, they're trying to, I guess, launch their Twitch channel and figure things out. And I'm sure once they all figure it out, then they can decide what wrestlers can do what and whatnot. But anyway, she was pretty vocal about continuing to stream and use her Twitch account. So there was a meeting with Vince McMahon, with AJ Styles and Xavier Woods, I think a week or two ago. Unfortunately, I don't think it changed. Reportedly, nothing really changed. Unfortunately, as we could tell, Vince was still set in his ways. So I think a lot of people are suspecting the fact that she kept streaming and using Twitch that ultimately led to her being let go. And then, Richard, you brought up a good point. She, I guess, started an OnlyFans account because that was outside of the third-party rule, or that wasn't listed as one of the third-party sites that was in question, or WWE had no understanding.
But she still clearly knew that they wouldn't approve of it because she made a false name for the account, but she was following the account so people would know that that was actually hers.
Yeah. So, and it let's just backtrack a little bit. So, listen, I know OnlyFans, for the most part, it's a lot of like porn stars and adult entertainers use it. It's a way to post photos and videos and interact with their fans.
Here's what I think is unfair though too. Okay. Because like I think WWE gets constantly painted with these are the bad guys. This is why I don't watch, even though they watch paintbrush. But I don't think we mentioned it, but Tony Chimmel and a bunch of other people got let go last week.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Is it unfair for WWE to let go the live event people? Because how long has it been since we've had live events?
Since February.
Yeah.
How many months is that?
coming up on 8-9 now.
Yeah.
So they got paid for 9 months without having to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you. I lost my job because of this COVID thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting paid.
Yeah.
So if someone was paying me for 9 months, I'd be grateful as hell for that.
Yeah. So with the OnlyFans, I know there's other people who've been using it other than for like, sexual related stuff. So I mean, like Enzo Amore, and he was using it, I think, for like workouts, tips and training. And so in her case, from what I quickly read up on Friday when you first told me about it, she was using it to post like all her cosplay costumes and kind of like the sexy outfits and stuff. So no nudity, as Tommy has told us.
She was charging like $100 for 3 photos of stuff that gets leaked out on the internet anyway.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like why? Like she came out and said something on Friday night about how it's Twitch for her mental health or something. It's been helping her.
Paige said that.
Yeah,
recently.
but Zelina did it as well.
Okay.
On Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of like, okay, so what's the secret OnlyFans account that you didn't even bring up? Like, you're just trying to penny push this. And it's just like why? These are things that you can do when you're done with wrestling. Like, I don't understand why you just don't play by the rules and even take the photos now, but use them later.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really subjective situation depending on what side of the fence you feel about this. And for me, I'm trying to see both sides, and I totally see where you're coming from. So it's interesting because you can easily argue a lot of these people who are on Twitch and whatnot, they have the following because of WWE.
But the point is that if your work says not to do something and you go ahead and do it, you
break the rules. Yeah.
That's where I'd kind of draw the line where this is one-sided or two-sided. Like it's not, because she clearly knew and she clearly went behind their backs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I understand that. And it's a really interesting situation. I mean, I think a lot of people were upset, shocked for multiple reasons. One, in the last 3-4 years that she's been with WWE, she's done a lot. She's been a great manager. She's been a great
She's the star of Raw earlier this year.
Yeah, and she's been gaining more back in the ring as of late since she kind of split from Andrade and doing more of her own solo run right now, which I think all of us were kind of excited to see where that was going to go. So it's very unfortunate. It's very sad that someone that talented is gone. And so on Friday, she went live on her Twitch, and she timed it perfectly. She went on live during the main event of SmackDown, and she was tearing up and kind of crying, and I guess a lot of people were tuning in and giving her a lot of subs and whatnot. So she was like
chasing the hug.
Yeah, exactly. So, but she was getting a lot of attention. I think she was really overwhelmed from all the support, and so it's very sad that she said like she thanks WWE for her time there. That was her biggest goal in life, was to be a WWE superstar. And that's all she ever wanted to be. So she was very happy to finally accomplish that. So it's very interesting. Like, it sounds like with her tweet beforehand. So I think one question is, what came first? Her getting let go? Then she went public?
I think her getting let go. Like, I'm seeing all that chatter about 10 minutes later. Like, I don't think they're keeping an eye on every single tweet the second it comes out.
Yeah. So that's what I think what happened. She probably got let go. She tweeted that out, and then WWE made the announcement. So I'm sure she got let go. WWE then probably were typing up or making a web page article about her being released. She beat them to the punch by tweeting out, she supports unionization, and then WWE tweeted out that she was being released. So it's, I mean, God, this is such a bigger topic that we could spend so much time on as far as.
I just want to say that, I mean, in a sense, I do feel her because I was part of a union at one time when I worked as a chef at the Oakland Coliseum. So
you see the benefits of working for a union,
right?
Yeah. So and that's the thing. And then, like I said, this is a bigger topic discussion as far as independent contractors versus unionized and the pros and cons of it all. And like I said, we've discussed it before, and it's until something happens to WWE. I mean, we can just talk until our faces are blue about this. So
well, and here's the other thing. Like, this is something that you can fix when your contract comes up.
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that you can negotiate in your contract. I mean, all of this ends with that. Like, the reason why Bruce Pritchard still is able to do something to wrestle with, and they have hundreds of thousands of followers, which tells you that they're making a ton on sponsors.
Yeah.
Is that he worked that into his contract because he knows how adult contracts work, not indie contracts. So
yes, because this whole situation is still fairly new, the whole Twitch situation. And I think for WWE, they're still trying to figure this whole thing out. Like, okay, what is Twitch? How can we use it, have a presence there? How can we use our superstars with that? And then maybe once the dust settles, then maybe how can we kind of let some of the superstars have freedom to use their own? And so I think a lot of people were jumping the gun, be like, oh my God, how dare they take away their Twitch streams and all that stuff. I think WWE, they're a little slow to the game.
It's video games. Watching people play video games. Adult men complaining that they don't get to watch their favorite wrestlers play video games? Really?
And that's the thing. So Twitch initially, for anyone who doesn't know,
Throw
Twitch
the hell up.
was initially launched. People can watch gamers perform. But I know Twitch in the last year or so, I'm not quite sure.
But Danny, what are people watching the wrestlers? This is a wrestling podcast. What are they watching the wrestlers for? They're watching them to play video games. I get that they do other things.
Yeah.
But like, that's why they're on there. It's stupid.
I mean, see, that's the thing. I know you and me personally, like I'm fascinated by Twitch, but I'm fascinated as far as other type of media personalities are starting to use it more. Me personally, I'm not a big gamer. I don't play a lot of video games. And for me, I just don't see personally the appeal of watching someone else play video games. You told
me that you play Tetris on a regular basis, and you're telling me that you're not a big gamer? Tommy, back me up here.
I'm a Pac-Man guy.
Yeah.
No, so I'm just saying, like, for me, I'm fascinated, or I'm really intrigued seeing how Twitch is expanding what they're known for, other than just being a place to watch guys or people play video games. I'm really enjoying how a lot of like YouTube personalities and other radio hosts, a lot of people are using as a platform to people watch their show take place. So, anyway, when I guess ultimately it boils down to, it sucks for WWE. I guess for them, listen, WWE, I think their mentality is they are bigger than any person on the roster currently. They're a machine that constantly keeps going. I think in their mindset, they can let go someone and they can find someone else to replace that role and just keep going.
Well, here's the thing. We've been saying this the last couple weeks. You could plug and play her with Melina.
Yeah.
Like as great as Zelina Vega is, and she's an asset to any company that she goes to, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you're not one of a kind.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but and quite frankly, from what we've seen the last couple of weeks, Melina's still a better wrestler than Zelina Vega is.
Yeah, well, also, I guess for me, and we were kind of talking about this privately, was I kind of wonder if her being released was almost an example for the rest of the rosters. Like, see, if you disobey us,
I think so, 100%.
If you disobey us, we'll let you go. So she's almost like the sacrificial lamb to let everyone else know, send a message to them. You fall by our rules, or this is what's going to happen to you. Yeah,
and workplaces do that. I did that at Rock Bar. I had to fire people. It sucks, but at the same time, it's like, like look at CM Punk. He got let go.
Yeah,
and he's one of the biggest stars in the company at the time.
And that was like
this is why they don't have your Hulk Hogan's, Stone Cold's, The Rock's anymore. Because they're not going to let people hold them over the coals anymore like they used to. And despite what the internet thinks, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Because they might pay that person more money to keep them on board, but that might mean 3 or 4 other people lose their jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's funny how people will say good for you and then screw them for firing all those people.
Yeah. Though it's very interesting, like at this, like CM Punk, when he was let go, a lot of people were like, oh, they're never going to recover from this. No, they just kept going, business as usual. And unfortunately, they were able to move on without him. And it just shows, not one person at this time is bigger than the company. And that's something, what you just mentioned, they kind of don't want to go back down that road anymore. One last thing I want to touch on, and this was also came out, I believe, I don't know, was it Friday night or Saturday morning? So WrestleVotes, they're a pretty solid, reliable news source that a lot of outlets follow. They tweeted something. Tommy, go ahead and read the tweet from them.
They tweeted out that said, there's a bit more behind the scenes to the Zelina Vega release. Frustration from both sides is an understatement. While it can't be directly tied to today's news, Aleister Black recently requested to move back to NXT and was denied. Dissension amongst the parties involved.
So let's just break that down real quick and then we'll move on. So as far as the tension, obviously it sounds like maybe that's part of the Twitch thing and no one wanted to budge and whatnot. A couple things, Rich, I wanted to ask you. So yeah, Aleister Black, Zelina Vega's real life husband. What's next for him? Do you think he's going to be okay? Do you think he's going to stay on the roster? A lot of people are speculating, is he going to get released soon? And the other thing too, just thoughts on him asking to go back to NXT, but being denied that.
Well, NXT's a pretty stacked roster right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Aleister Black's lived up to Aleister Black since winning the NXT championship.
Okay.
So that's pretty much where I stopped caring about him.
You think once he wins the NXT championship, that was kind of like the peak for him?
For me.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, I can see that.
I didn't find his character that interesting after that.
Yeah. You're very much right to have that opinion. I think he kind of...
don't get me wrong. I can appreciate a good match still. But, overall, I'm not getting pumped that it's time for Aleister Black.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wonder for him, he probably, listen, we know his time on the main roster, he hasn't done much. He was hiding in the closet for how long? Had a good little...
He's injury prone. He's one of those guys.
He had a little rivalry with, was it Kevin Owens? And, he's got the new music, the new look a little bit. So I'm sure for him, he's probably frustrated that it's been stop and go. So maybe that's why he felt like going back to NXT and trying to recapture that time period you just mentioned when he was NXT champion at the top of that promotion. So I know I kind of bums me out because I think he would have been great to go back there.
Who's to say that we don't see him and Zelina Vega go to NXT? Even though she's just been fired, we've seen people get fired and get rehired fairly quickly.
Drake Maverick.
Yeah.
She might just be on a 3-month timeout and they bring her back in 3 months with Aleister Black and NXT.
And Nigel McGuinness.
Yeah. I mean, that would be cool. So she has a 90-day non-compete in her contract. So it looks like the earliest that she can do anything in wrestling once again will be
outside of WWE.
Yeah, it'll be February. So mid-February. So 2021. So yeah, we'll wait and see. And we'll see how this story progresses. I'm curious if she'll open up more on Twitch and maybe explain more of her side, or maybe she has to kind of keep her mouth shut for the next couple months. So I don't know. Like you said, we'll wait and see. And I'm sure she's probably cautious because she doesn't want to jeopardize Aleister Black's situation. Very much like Lana and Rusev or Miro. Yeah, that's very similar. Rusev.
Who?
Former U.S. champion. So...
Rusev Day.
So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out with Aleister Black. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to keep their eye on him and how he's going to be used on WWE television moving forward and see if anything happens, if he gets punished in any way. Maybe he'll start going through tables for the next 2 months of some sort. I don't know.
Hey, that table thing is over.
Yeah. It's now, I mean, what, 8?
They're doing counts. 8
in 9 weeks.
That's a report for Raw this week, kids.
That's it. Move on. All right, on NXT.
All right, NXT.
Let's jump on the Raw real quick. Let's just touch on some of the highlights there. It's the second to last week before Survivor Series, so they're still just kind of building up the teams and just kind of building up the whole chemistry, the dynamics between everyone involved. So, we saw the first match of the night was a second chance triple threat match. It was Riddle taking on Jeff Hardy and Elias. Riddle, formerly known as Matt Riddle, got the victory. So he's now the 5th and final member for Team Raw for Survivor Series. just your thoughts on him finally being part of the team officially. You think that
I dug it, and I loved his nicknames for everyone later in the show.
Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into that. So later on the night, AJ Styles want to have like a team meeting in the ring. He still calls himself the captain. Everyone else kind of looks at him like, what? So in the ring with him was Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, Braun Strowman, and Sheamus. Matt Riddle grabs the microphone and starts giving one nicknames. I think the actual dialogue was kind of a little goofy.
It was, but it suited Matthew Riddle very well.
Yes. So I was entertained. Like I try to view that with a more of a lighthearted attitude or eye to that. So I thought it was very entertaining and goofy. And even Sheamus said, "What's your name, Dopey?" And he's like, "How'd you know?"
Bro.
So what was Fireface? Fireface for Sheamus.
Yeah.
Broly.
Broly. What was AJ? Just what
Skipper.
Skipper.
Yeah.
And what was Braun?
Braun was
Mongoose.
Mongoose, yes.
So, like, listen, okay, we know Raw and SmackDown.
If we go back and watch that, because I think it felt like one of those segments outside of Sheamus, where the others didn't know what he was going to say.
It was all
like Braun had like this puzzled look and tried not to laugh, and Keith Lee just flat out laughed.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is listen, I kind of like, okay, we know Raw and SmackDown, they can't have really invasion type angles right now because of the pandemic. They're trying to keep a minimum of who's in the arena for each respected show. So what's the next best thing? Okay, you just focus on the team itself and just focus on who's getting along with who and who doesn't get along with the other person. And so that's how you create some drama that way. So going into the match, who's going to be on the same page? Will they be on the same page? So that's why I'm digging this type of storyline based on the current conditions of the pandemic and whatnot. So I'm all for that. I thought it was entertaining. So then later on, after that meeting, they're like, okay, we got like team bonding or whatnot. And they're like, all right, Braun and Sheamus versus Keith Lee and Matt Riddle, AJ Styles, special guest referee, and they fight, and Riddle and Keith Lee get the victory here. So I'm kind of like, how is this building up team chemistry? Like you're just having each other beat each other up in the meantime. I don't know.
It was a good match too, but the most entertaining part of it was AJ Styles screaming, "Why?"
And then for me, what I enjoyed, here's something to think about too, and we can discuss real quick. Matt Riddle, he's been on Raw so far. He hasn't done much. A lot of people were kind of questioning his time on the main roster to begin with. It's not been as flashy in NXT. But the fact he won 2 matches in one night, do you think this is kind of a turnaround for him?
Yes. And it might just be a creative thing. You know, like SmackDown and Raw do have different creative teams. Yeah. So maybe SmackDown's creative just wasn't up to par with what we wanted for him. Yeah. But Raw will.
Yeah. So we saw more of the women's side of things as far as Shayna Baszler defeated Lana, and eventually Lana went through the table again. 8th time in 9 weeks that we just mentioned earlier. Bobby Lashley got a win over Titus O'Neil, so once again still U.S. champion. So earlier in the night, we saw Drew Gulak try to join the Hurt Business. He was dressed up, and they turned him down because he had the pin-up tie. Or the clip tie.
The clip-on tie.
Close.
And then
He was so close.
R-Truth pinned him. He's the new 24/7 champion. Later in the night, they had another 24/7 match in the actual ring. 7 guys in the ring. That one I thought was just a little chaotic. And it was
a little messy.
I liked it. And I'll tell you now, I do like Tucker's gear.
No, come on. Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Really, why?
Do you know who Jay Bradley is? Independent wrestler.
Name doesn't ring a bell.
He's got like the 3rd or 4th best clothesline from Hell in wrestling.
Okay,
and,
all right.
he basically wears the same gear. So it's just kind of like, oh, he looks like Jay Bradley with more hair.
Okay.
So I was like, that match, it was just like guys pinning each other over and over. It was just like the leftover guys on the roster.
It was like WrestleMania 2000's hardcore match.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh my God, here we go. So just get it done. I thought maybe match of the night was Mustafa Ali taking on Ricochet.
Yeah, that was a good match.
Yeah.
That was a great match, and finally, someone in Retribution gets a victory, so kind of hopefully add some momentum for that faction moving forward. Just last thing real quick.
Hold on. Based off of Retribution recently, do you still think that Mustafa Ali is the leader?
Yeah.
Considering how little they've been on?
Well, that's, creative, if you want to break kayfabe. Yeah.
Could be.
I know. I mean, it's like if they're trying to, recruit Ricochet. Poor Ricochet, he's by himself now. Mustafa Ali's in Retribution. Cedric's with Hurt Business. Apollo's over on SmackDown, so he's by himself. So I don't know what he's gonna do. He probably is better off joining the faction just to give him something to do. Or could he be the lone wolf superhero babyface? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I think they could put a mask on him. A cool mask, and
like a puma.
Yeah, like a puma.
Yeah,
but they call him Rick O'Shea, the Fighting Irishman. What? These are good ideas I have.
Better than creative on WWE.
Bro.
We got Vince Russo over here, Big Venom. Oh boy.
One last thing. So the main event, we saw Drew McIntyre and the New Day take on Randy Orton. Versus Miz and Morrison. Before the match, it was announced Drew McIntyre will have another chance for the WWE Championship against Randy Orton next week on Raw. Randy Orton is very pissed off at Adam Pearce.
Pout boy.
So this match, Morrison was getting the crap beat out of him. Randy Orton did not want to tag in. He was just very much didn't want nothing to do with it. He was pissed off. So Drew McIntyre kicked down Morrison, got the victory for his team. So next week, Drew McIntyre is going to take on Randy Orton, and the winner will then take on Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. And I think we could talk more about that matchup, maybe predictions in regards to what happened on SmackDown, if that's cool. We'll kind of hold off there. Right. All right, so let's jump on over to NXT this week. A lot of stuff to talk about. Probably the most a bunch of surprises. So, okay, let's jump right into it. Opening segment, Johnny Gargano had his wheel in the ring, and the big story is that very much like Sasha Banks, he'll win a title, but will lose it in the first defense match right after and can never retain. So he had a wheel with a bunch of people from the NXT roster, spins it, lands on Leon Ruff, who we've seen make appearances here and there in NXT. He also jobbed out some matches on Raw and SmackDown in the past. So he's one of the new signees for NXT, one of the upcoming young guys. Yeah. So he comes out and Johnny Gargano starts working him, beating him up, doing a lot of heelish moves. But then we see once they go outside, Damian Priest is out there standing there just looking at him. And Johnny Gargano starts like taunting him and not focusing so much on Leon Ruff. And then they go back in the ring, they go at it a little bit. Leon Ruff rolls him up, pins him, and he's now the new NXT North American champion. And Johnny flips out. Damian's celebrating with Leon Ruff, puts the belt around him.
But it falls off.
He holds his hands up, falls down to the ground. Yeah. So, Richard, thoughts on Leon Ruff, now the new North American champion, and this whole situation here?
Well, you never notice how wrestling sometimes, when wrestling's at its best, it's mirroring something in the news or culture. Mm-hmm. So, what happened after the match with Gargano?
You want it was in the contract, or he was confronting William Regal.
Not to get political, but he was crying that he lost.
Yeah.
Or he didn't really lose. And he clearly lost. And he said, I would never pick a stipulation like that. I hate wheels.
I like we see where you're going.
Even though you saw him lose.
Yeah. And he made the match himself. And so it all backfired on him. Yeah, very much like our president. So very, very interesting observation there. I like that. So
I thought that immediately after seeing him in the back saying, I didn't pick that match. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. So okay, let me ask you this. So
sore loser, just
So they're comparing this upset very much to like 1, 2, 3 Kid defeating Razor Ramon.
No.
Do you think
Look at the size of both of these guys? Hell, I think Leon Ruff might weigh more than Johnny Gargano. That's saying nothing.
So big upset. I mean, unfortunately, okay, let me ask you this. A lot of people are complaining like this really devalues the North American Championship, the fact it's on Leon Ruff now. Unfortunately, I think what happens here, Leon Ruff, unfortunately, is just a prop in the main focus is Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest. This storyline's not over yet. So Leon Ruff, I'm sure he's going to have a short title reign. I don't know what's going to happen. Does Johnny get a rematch and win it right back, but then loses it to Damian Priest? So once again, he wins it, but loses it in his first defense. I don't know, but unfortunate for Leon Ruff. I mean, this is obviously the biggest moment in his career thus far, but unfortunately, he's just as a prop in the main storyline here. So, I think enjoy it while you can for Leon Ruff. I'm sure he's taking a bunch of pictures and selfies with that championship. So
he and his dad.
Yeah. So it's great to him. Congrats to him. For me, I'm not super like, oh my God, this devalues the championship. I see it. There's a bigger storyline here.
I haven't seen enough Leon Ruff to make that assumption.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of silly. Like I've seen that he's very athletic. Mm-hmm. He's not just some fan standing there.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, he's not Nicholas, former Raw tag team champion Nicholas.
Or what about that guy from Ring of Honor, the cheeseburger guy?
The cheeseburger.
Yeah.
I mean, he's WWE's cheeseburger.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so, I mean, before we kind of, I think, put a lot of judgment on the North American Championship, its value, let's see how this plays out. Even though he's on the short list of champions, Leon Ruff is the current one. So,
well, here I got a question for you. Did you see people that were complaining about this?
Yeah, on some Twitter. I like, for me, I try to stay on Twitter. I'd be active on Twitter.
Okay, how come WWE does something like this with someone like that, but you don't get people complaining about Marco's stunted growth on AEW?
I mean,
seriously,
there are various people who do complain about Marco's stunt as well.
Yeah, but like, I don't understand. Like, really, like, come on, this guy's Spider-Man. Like, sure, we haven't seen him win a match, but like, maybe he turns out to be. I mean, they wouldn't have signed him if he wasn't good.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. I'm excited for his future. I think he could be. There might be something really special there with him, and it's going to take time to build him up.
And so far with the North American Championship, what are you discrediting? Because so far it's been smaller guys as that champion. Mm-hmm. Like, it's still a new title. Like, as far as I'm concerned, these are kind of like the more elite cruiserweight guys that have that belt.
Yeah, I mean, it's so Adam Cole,
Ricochet.
Johnny, Ricochet,
Velveteen Dream,
Roderick Strong. So, who? Oh, yeah, Keith Lee. Keith Lee and Damian Priest are the two big ones.
Yeah, right.
So, but like I said, for me, I don't get super critical and be like, oh my God, this sucks for that title in the lineage. Well, it's like.
And then think about this. What's the difference between that title and the NXT World title?
I mean, it's a second tier title.
Yeah, but like in WWE land, the US and the Intercontinental title are kind of the workhorse belts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then what is the North American title?
That should be the
everyone in
belt.
NXT is a workhorse.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean that's I think the top belt for a lot of them to go after.
I guess.
Yeah.
like that's what I mean. Like, that belt, to me, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it's a cool looking belt. Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah. So, like I said, we'll see how this plays out and what's next for Johnny and Damian Priest. That's the main focus, and I'm sure that title will get back in their picture for both of them involved.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah. So next up, we saw the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. Jake Atlas taking on the current champion, Santos Escobar. Great match, I thought. Pretty hard.
Very good.
And then Santos Escobar gets the victory, but he was very much shocked, like, or what's the word? Like, he was like
spellbound.
Like he was like he was happy he got the victory, but yeah, he almost was like he knew he almost lost it there, and he pulled out a victory. So I guess. Good for Jake Atlas. I think we're seeing a little more rougher edge around him, you know, as far as attacking the other guys in the faction with the pipe outside and whatnot. So I'm glad Jake Atlas is getting a little more character building around him.
That was the best Jake Atlas match I've seen.
Yeah. So I don't know if this feud's over or what's next, but like as far as Santos Escobar, I enjoyed. Like for him, he was like, whoa, like I barely won that one. So I value that.
Well, like you said, Richard, he's like, I mean, Jake Atlas is like a Ricky Steamboat type.
Cruiserweight Ricky Steamboat.
Right.
There we go. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out more if they keep going. But for Jake Atlas' sake, I'm glad he's gained finally some character development here. Next up, a segment here that I was actually looking forward to talking about with you guys. So Raquel Gonzalez, she came out to the ring expecting to take on Xia Li that she got challenged for.
Right.
Xia Li never came out. Boa instead came out and said, unfortunately, she cannot be here. Mm-hmm. Raquel Gonzalez flips out, beats the crap out of Boa.
Yeah.
And then after she leaves, we see the room get dark. And then we see like this dragon artwork animation go around the performance center. And then we see an older man.
This older gentleman.
Come out in a suit. And Boa is on the ground, like, you know, on his knees.
Bowing to him.
And he hands him a letter and then like writes like a
like it's like charcoal or whatever
on his hand, and like the red lights go off. Very cool setting. Like, man, I mean, I compared it to like maybe the Fiend, like as far as the light show. But Richard, your thoughts on?
I don't know who that. I was wondering who the hell that guy is, because like immediately I'm just thinking I don't know who that is, but he's got a presence to him, and I don't think he's been in the wrestling business that I know of. He
kind of looks like an Asian version of Paul Ellering.
So I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. So we have this dynamic of this older gentleman, Boa, Xia Li.
Well, and as we know, wrestling is new to China, so it's not like he's some like old school wrestler from China. Like this is. I don't know who this is. It's kind of like a Dario Cueto from Lucha Underground.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that guy. So I'm just, for me, it's like, okay, this segment alone got me excited for like what's next, and the fact we're all questioning it. But it's like, I like, it's kind of like mystical, you know, somewhat a little bit magic kind of. Yeah, all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's not much else we can really describe or anticipate, but I mean, we just see. Hopefully, we'll get some more answers sooner than later. So next up, saw Candice LeRae take on Toni Storm, sneak out a victory. You know, had her feet up on the rope. So Candice LeRae, it's amazing. Like, you know, she loses these big matches, but she's still consistent and wins her other matches. So
right.
I'm just curious, like, what's Candice LeRae? What's going to happen?
She's Tommy Dreamer.
So
that was Tommy Dreamer in ECW. Like, he could never win that big match against Raven, but he'd win against everyone, you know, building up to it.
Yeah. So Toni Storm, I think Toni Storm's okay with this loss because she just came back to NXT Prime. So for Candice LeRae, I'm just like, okay, they're building her up. We saw Shotzi Blackheart come in. She's pissed off about the Tank still that get beat up by ran over from Candice LeRae. So I'm guessing it's going to be probably Toni Storm, Shotzi Blackheart take on Candice LeRae, and Indy Hartwell was revealed as the mask Ghostface Scream character. So I'm sure we're going to get a tag team match between them two coming up soon. We also saw Timothy Thatcher take on Dexter Lumis. So Thatcher and the guy he beat up on the Thatch Can segment a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I forgot his name.
They were battling out in the backstage area, knocked out Dexter Lumis's photo.
His artwork
of Cameron Grimes and the zombie ref. Good match here.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, Dexter Lumis was getting a little technical. Well, you have to be when you're in a ring with Timothy Thatcher. So kind of nice to see a different side of Dexter Lumis's presentation. But sure enough, Cameron Grimes came out and kind of interfered. Thatcher was able to roll up Lumis and get the victory there, and then he got out of the ring, and then Cameron Grimes beat up Dexter Lumis, put a bag on his head, and pretty much he said in the promo or his interview afterwards, he's like, covering up his eyes, he's not afraid of him, because it's the eyes that scares Cameron Grimes. But once he covered that up, he has no problem beating the crap out of him. So what do you think about Cameron Grimes and that strategy for him?
I'm anything that Cameron Grimes does is gold to me. So,
okay.
Like, he's kind of like Braun Strowman at this point for me, where it doesn't matter what he does or says, I'm going to find it amusing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like this rivalry is far from over. But Cameron Grimes, God, I really enjoy his work. I mean, he's great in the ring, but then he's just such great character work outside the ring. So I hope he goes to the moon.
Again, this is another person that was at Impact.
Yeah.
They made a champion, but they didn't do. I mean, the guy's got charisma coming out the wazoo here.
Yeah.
Like, come on. All they did really was give him a microphone and a hat. That's the only thing that's different from him in TNA.
He's walking around with jeans, no shirt on, hairy chest, like, hey, everybody.
He looks like he belongs in like a Southern rock band.
Yeah. But he doesn't have the best body in the world, but he struts around like
confident.
He's Rick Rude or something.
Right.
That's great. And,
look at me.
So, main event time, it was for the NXT tag titles. Breezango challenging once again the current champions, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. Pat McAfee came out doing commentary while was it Pete Dunne?
Pete Dunne
stood there kind of like as a bodyguard for him. So this match was great. I mean, even the promo before it, Pat McAfee once again calling out all the internet wrestling community. So hard hitting match here. The very end, we see Drake Maverick come in, try to interfere and try to help Breezango out, but unfortunately. It became a numbers game, 4-on-3, and they beat up all three of them. So Breezango lost.
Yeah.
Lorcan and Burch retained the titles and got the victory there. So, Richard, what do you think? It's, I guess, what they're calling themselves the Kings of NXT. I think that's the name they're giving themselves, or Pat McAfee's calling themselves. A couple things. One, just Pat McAfee calling themselves the greatest 4-piece faction ever. And I'm like, 4-man groups. I could think of some other more powerful, some groups out there. But also, I was going to ask you, I know we were predicting, like, oh, this is probably leading to War Games. Well, War Games usually happens, as far as NXT goes, the day before Survivor Series. That's next week. And they haven't announced another takeover yet. So
let me ask you something then.
Okay.
Do you think that this means that we're going to get a War Games match on a regular NXT show for a rating?
Maybe.
Oh, so instead of like for a takeover, they just do it on an episode of Wednesday night.
Yeah, and not have any commercials the last hour.
That'd be cool. I'm all for that. I mean, okay. So here's the thing. I know you guys don't know, but so on December 2nd, AEW Dynamite.
No one cares. No one cares.
It's Kenny Omega taking on Moxley for the championship.
Who?
So,
Dean Ambrose.
Dean Ambrose. So I'm just saying.
That bum?
So maybe December 2nd. I'm just saying, early prediction, maybe December 2nd, they have the War Games match that night. I'm just throwing it out there.
If that happened, what do you think people would think is the hotter show? If you're a fan of both shows.
I think you got to give slightly the edge to War Games.
I mean, I love War Games. It's so much fun. But here's the thing. Kenny Omega potentially getting his first title win in AEW. That's also a draw. Because there's a lot of predictions. Well, Moxley dropped it because then he has to go over to Japan and defend the IWGP US Championship at Wrestle Kingdom. So,
can you travel to Japan right now?
I think you can currently.
Well, Jeff Cobb is there,
and he probably has to
put him in they put him in a crate and shipped him. You haven't seen him in months, right?
And Tama Tonga and his brother.
Yeah, so but I mean, for Moxley, he probably has to go there at least 2 weeks early and probably quarantine for 2 weeks before Wrestle Kingdom.
Right.
So maybe, so I would think maybe, so probably maybe before Christmas goes out there. I don't know.
So hold on. So if I'm just asking because you might know this, I don't. Mm-hmm. If he has to go there 2 weeks early, perhaps, maybe 14 days, right? Mm-hmm. Does that mean that he does that, and then when he gets back here, he'd have to quarantine as well, wouldn't he? So he'd be off of AEW for a month. I do one match for Japan.
That's
maybe
possibly.
Yeah.
I'm not critiquing any parties here. I'm just saying it's a lose-lose kind of thing for everyone, well, except for New Japan.
Well, I mean, that's, I think, kind of
you got to play it safe.
Well, that's kind of the deal since he still has a title for New Japan.
Yeah, if you don't drop it.
Yeah, and I'm sure for him, I probably want to drop it, just like vacate it. I'm sure he actually probably want to defend it. So that's the thing. That's what I heard too. Is like, okay, he might have to go there early in quarantine and quarantine when he gets back. So yeah, all for one match.
You think more people would watch that to see the title change?
Potentially,
which I can see because a title change is history.
Yeah, so I would imagine the Kenny Omega Moxley match is probably the bigger draw because for War Games we've seen that play out 3 years in a row already.
You just better pray that Tony Schiavone doesn't get any results to spoil.
That's the thing.
Who knows?
Schiavone, we're gonna watch December 2nd. Be like, hey, guess what? Undisputed Era wins again, fourth year in a row. That'll put some butts in the seats.
With help from Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall.
I'll put some butts in the virtual Thunderdome or Performance Center. But
yeah,
that's a good point. I wonder, maybe they'll do War Games just on a Wednesday night. And that Wednesday, December 2nd could be the date. So you heard it here first. Our prediction. That's our guess. So, let's just quickly go through the rest of this stuff real quick. So NXT UK, I thought it was a very fun episode. 4 matches there.
Yeah.
We saw Eddie Dennis come out managing his new tag team, The Hunt. The Hunt has
that was weird.
What do you think
Primate and who's the other guy?
I don't know. Growler face.
Wild Hog.
Yeah.
So what do you think of their new look? Like they got some little new costumes now.
With Eddie Dennis there smiling, it was very S&M.
That's true. Yeah.
There was something very strange going on there.
Yeah.
But I didn't quite understand because I don't come from that world.
so I mean, what'd you think of Eddie Dennis? Like I don't know too much about him. I know he's a wrestler.
The Slender Man.
Yeah.
He's a wrestler himself. He wrestled a few weeks ago.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
But he's also looks like he's managing. So I don't know if he's transitioning to more of a managerial role going forward.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard someone compared him to Gary Hart.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I'm fine with that. I mean, look at MVP.
Yeah. So kind of.
I think that's a trend that we're going to start seeing in WWE again. Thank God.
As far as older wrestlers, maybe wrestling part time.
If you think about it, like with the Bullet Club, like at its full force, like they're not out there for each other's matches all the time, right? So it's just kind of like, well, what's the point in even being in a group? You're like, it's like the Kliq and the BSK.
Yeah,
like that's how it's been presented the last however long, and it's like, if you're in a group, you should be going out to the ring with your partners or whatever and support them, and then they support you and whatever, or you have one person represent that.
Yeah.
So I like that WWE's starting to do that. Like Pat McAfee's doing commentary for the main event for NXT this week, and you've got Pete Dunne
out there as well,
but he's nowhere near Pat McAfee. He's standing around looking like a scary tan Brit. So
he's the enforcer.
Yeah.
Okay, so when Gallus came out last week. Like it was odd because I thought Joe Coffey, it looked like he was like waving them off, but then he went with them, and I'm just like, I don't understand what's going on the show anymore. But you'll see that thing all the time where some like the manager or associate or advocate or whatever, greet them at the ramp and then walk away. And it's like, what's the point? Like, there's no point in this.
Yeah, no, they should go out there and be ringside in some capacity and just. I think it adds a layer to the match, the dynamics involved, like it's an extra threat that you have to look out for if you're on the opposing team. So
yeah, it does make you wonder if like managing is somewhat dead.
I mean, a good manager is in today's world. We haven't seen that in a long time.
It's truly a lost art.
Yeah, it really is a lost art.
Which like when you see it done right with like Zelina Vega, or Zelina De La Renta on MLW, it's like
or Joseph
pop up here and there.
Yeah, Joseph. Yeah. He's a good example. He wrestles, but he's kind of more of the older figure who comes out in the suit still. So. That's a good example there too. So, I like that trend too. I mean, I think bring back a manager persona is always a good thing, and these guys
even just having a presence at ringside is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like the guy with AJ, like he hasn't done anything yet. Yeah, sure. He hasn't done anything.
They haven't said his name. They just said the guy, but yeah, we all know his name's Jordan. It's his real name. Yeah.
But at the same token, he's out there, and you're wondering, is he going to do something this time? You know, like there is some extra questions that come with,
absolutely.
And if you're looking to kill some time, then that's when the referee has the spot where he throws them out of ringside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a whole another dynamic that adds some extra flavor to the match. So we saw the Hunt get the win over Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan. We saw the debut of Rampage Brown on NXT UK finally.
I'm a fan of this guy.
Yeah, defeating Jack Stars. I was telling Tommy before we recorded, I love his finisher. It's like a gut. He picks him up from the gut wrench position, and it's just a bam.
Simple power bomb.
Power bomb. You know, he lays his feet out kind of like Batista.
You know who used to do that?
Who?
Without the sit down thing, but it would be a gut wrench into a power bomb. Was Brock when he first came in?
Yeah,
we forget because Brock just does suplexes now, but like when Brock can do everything, he's a freak of nature.
Man, like okay, not to go on a Brock Lesnar tangent, but back in the day, I mean, I was not a big fan because I was like, oh, he's taking Stone Cold's spot, like that's not fair. But now, looking back on it in retrospect, I really do appreciate Brock's first run with the company and how awesome he was of an athlete and
in a short amount of time.
Exactly, and I mean,
I miss that Brock.
Yeah, totally. Me too. That was such a special. He was such a special personality. So, but anyway, like I said, for Rampage Brown, I love this match, hard hitting. And
just a classic squash match.
I wonder, will Rampage Brown could he be built up as maybe a potential challenger for Walter at some point?
Possibly.
They need one, right? They always need one.
They do.
I would love to see it.
Next up, we saw Zaya Brookside, who I very much just think is the UK version of Candice LeRae.
Yeah.
So defeat Nina Samuels. Tommy loved the finish, right? Just how she was selling.
Yeah, how she was selling her leg, her
injury. Zaya got the roll up and win.
Yeah, and but Zaya, what's her name?
Zaya Brookside.
Zaya Brookside was trying to check on her, see if she was all right or whatever. But then Nina Samuel.
Nina. So she was being carried out by the ref, selling a leg injury.
Right, and she just turned on Zaya Brookside, Nina Samuels, and was just being the heel that she is, and I like that.
Yeah, it was great.
I thought it was dumb as hell.
Why?
Like, you sacrifice winning the match so you can attack the girl after?
What's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, maybe she was legit hurt, but then she's
you're trying to win, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. She lost by roll up, so.
Well, then why not just get out of the ring and hit her with a chair or something? Like, why are you faking an injury just to jump her afterwards?
Well, you just got to have some sort of plot during the match,
I get what you're saying though, as far as like, okay, you lose by a roll up, so why continue selling an injury? When if you're that pissed off, just start beating the crap out of them violently with it.
It's like she planned the whole thing, but like, at what point in time did you plan this, and why did you sacrifice winning the match to do it?
Well, I guess for me, for Tommy and I, we think Nina, she potentially could be a really awesome heel for the women's division.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to more.
I think so with that, but I think if you are going to attack her after the match, you should be selling the legs still.
Yeah. I hear
like that would have made more sense to me than like, oh, I was faking hurting my leg and I'm just going to jump you now.
Yeah.
Like the logic is not there because if there's no title on the line, then the goal is to win.
Exactly.
So you can get a title shot later on because you've picked up all these wins.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
So like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
It felt flat for me.
Well, so the next up for the main event, it was one of the semifinals for the Heritage Cup tournament. Trent Seven taking on Dave Mastiff. And, man.
Good match.
A hard-hitting match.
These guys took it to the limit.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Mastiff, I love that one spot. It was like a cannonball into the corner with Trent Seven.
And he knocked out Trent Seven at one point, with his forearm.
But he got saved by the bell.
Right.
And then Trent Seven was able to get a roll-up on Dave Mastiff in one of the rounds.
Yeah.
Mastiff, with his cannonball, was able to get a pin. So it was 1-1 going into the sixth and final round.
Yeah.
And then... Man, I was shocked. Trent Seven
just came out of nowhere and he just mounted a comeback and he got him on the top rope right there. He was going to go for, Mastiff was going to go for a sunset flip, but then he countered, got him with the Birmingham Slam or whatever it's called, wherever he's from in England.
Birminghammer, yeah.
Yeah, Birminghammer, and he got the pinfall victory right there.
And so here are the finals. We saw Trent Seven looking at the Heritage Cup. He's going to take on A-Kid for the finals, and I guess it's going to happen on November 26th, so be what, Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving it is.
So, Richard, early predictions, who do you think is going to win this Heritage Cup?
I hope Trent Seven does.
Okay, we were predicting A-Kid. We think Trent Seven's going to put him over.
Yeah, which I don't think is needed because they need to start building the guys that are established better, so when they have matches with Walter that they look stronger.
Yeah. Right.
Because if A-Kid beats Trent Seven, and then Trent Seven gets a title match later with Walter, how am I supposed to believe that?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, Trent Seven, he's one of the top stars there, ultimate dad bod.
Yeah. Him and Mastiff.
So it's going to be interesting how this is going to play out because Trent Seven, is a former NXT UK tag champion.
Yeah, with Tyler Bate.
Where's Tyler Bate been? He hasn't been on.
He's kind of been on hiatus.
Yeah, I hope everything's okay. I haven't heard up any reasoning where has he been, but
he was at the beginning of this tournament, wasn't he?
No.
I don't think so.
Oh well.
But I'm just saying, I think Trent Seven, my guess is maybe NXT UK feels like they got to start building up some more younger stars. So I can see A-Kid, like that package, the video package at the beginning of the tournament that he's from, Spain?
Yeah, you got to root for the Spaniards.
So,
yeah.
So I that's what I'm kind of thinking, that maybe Trent Seven is going to put him over.
Right.
So, and then A-Kid could be like the first Heritage Cup winner for NXT UK and kind of, build him up as like another big name for the promotion. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited for it. And so it's going to happen in a couple weeks. So we'll of course discuss that. Last but not least, let's just power through SmackDown this week. I don't know about you guys. I kind of felt this might have been show of the week already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So in many ways.
Yeah, it was fun.
So, okay. So the opening segment, we saw Roman Reigns out there kind of promo, and all of a sudden we hear the and then the bagpipes playing.
Bagpipes.
Drew McIntyre comes to the ring, and I'm like, oh my God, what? Dude, total pop moment for me. Surprise. Obviously, he's from Monday Night Raw. Comes to the ring and starts confronting Roman Reigns, and
I like it.
Roman Reigns throwing some shade at him, says, though, I don't know who you are. I don't watch Raw. I don't know. No one watches Raw. All this stuff back and forth.
I like it.
And then Jay comes out and, jumps in the middle and starts talking smack to Drew McIntyre. And pretty much.
I thought that was the best part.
Really?
Him challenging.
Like him coming down the ramp and trash talking Drew.
Yeah.
Was just like, I'm in with this. The Hawaii family storyline now.
He wanted to step his game up.
So, he challenged him to a match later that night, and we'll see later on, Adam Pearce agreed to make it happen if it was going to be an unsanctioned match. So
Yeah.
that happens later on, and we'll discuss that a little bit. But just your thoughts on Drew McIntyre coming to SmackDown and talking to Roman Reigns. And, I mean, they're arguably the two biggest names on the roster right now. God, there's so much to break down in that because, listen, we know Triple H a couple months ago said in his mind, Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, a matchup at WrestleMania at some point in the future could be on the same level as Rock versus Austin, Hogan versus Flair. I mean, just what kind of your thoughts on the potential matchup of McIntyre versus Roman Reigns?
I don't see it that way. I think of it more as Rock versus Triple H because we've already seen both of them wrestle each other a bunch.
Yeah.
So it's not like this special thing that hasn't happened that many times like Rock and Austin. Or Brett and Shawn, because Brett and Shawn didn't wrestle every year or every week. So we've seen Drew McIntyre wrestle Roman Reigns every week on Raw.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not a sacred thing. So
yeah, well, I will say this: I do think
if you want to give me that comparison, I would say Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns would be that comparison because they haven't touched as much.
Okay. Well, I mean, you know, in many ways, I do think, you know, Drew and Roman are the top two guys for the company right now.
Agreed.
I just don't think they have the same star power as like a Rock and Austin, Hogan, Flair. That's just the current state of WWE. As we said before, like they don't have big names that are like bigger than the company, and so I just don't think they may have the same mass appeal. The three of us here,
there's nothing on the line for this match.
Correct. So the three of us here, we would love to see that match again. Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns. I mean, especially they're both in different spots in their career right now. Roman is a heel. Drew's been built up as this badass babyface. I love the back and forth on the microphone. So, and I love that Roman called the WWE Championship the second tier title, and Drew's like, no, it's not, and it's like defending it. It's like, no, it's not. And so the tension there. A couple things. So maybe we can save this for more at the end of talking about SmackDown. So, or maybe we'll just jump into it right now. I'm just trying to think. So, do you think Drew's going to win against Randy Orton this Monday, become WWE champion once again, therefore have a reason to fight Roman next Sunday at Survivor Series? Or do you think that's too soon?
No, I think it's going to happen. I think someone's going to screw Randy.
Okay, so keep in mind, Bray Wyatt is there. So that's what I was getting at. Maybe
Bray, Edge, you know, like it could be one of those two. It could be someone that doesn't like it. It could be The Miz trying to cash in.
Yeah,
and it screws things up.
So there's a lot of different directions we can go, which is exciting. Because, I mean, look at Alexa Bliss. She turned down Nikki Cross, and she's full-blown heel now.
The Miz could come out, give the briefcase, and get Claymored, and Drew beats The Miz for the belt. Like, he could add himself to the match, and then Randy doesn't have to be the one to even lose it.
Like
Good idea.
It protects Randy like it protected Brock 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. See, there's so many different directions this can go. Like, which I'm excited. It's like, okay, so maybe this Monday, Miz can get involved, make it a triple threat. Maybe the Fiend gets involved, costs Randy the match. Drew becomes champion, goes on to take on Roman. Or, Fiend can get involved, costs Drew the match. It's still Randy versus Roman at Survivor Series. But then, Drew or the Fiend can get involved in Survivor Series and cost maybe Randy the match, and that way Roman still wins, even though it's champion versus champion. So there's so many different directions it can go, and I'm excited for. Part of me is I kind of don't want to see Drew versus Roman right now. I want that saved for a WrestleMania moment. So that's why I kind of want to maybe see Randy win and then let him take on Roman, next Sunday at Survivor Series. So like I'm just kind of torn, but there are many different directions.
But if you do that WrestleMania moment, then you might be waiting 2 years.
I know it's It's tough.
So-
It's tough. Like, I mean, this
pretty
pandemic,
dicey.
this pandemic has thrown so much things out the window. So, I mean, we'll wait and see how this all plays out. There's so many different things to go to. So, I mean, we'll discuss it more following what happens on Raw this week and whatnot. So, just power through real quick. So, we saw Sami Zayn defeat Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews finally back on TV via count out. Very smart move on Sami Zayn's part, tying his foot on the bottom of the ring.
The diabolical genius that Sami Zayn is.
And it's good to see Sami Zayn back. We haven't seen him in a while. So, it's going to be him defending the IC title, or just representing the IC title, taking on Bobby
Lashley.
And then Sasha Banks comes out, cuts a promo. Bayley comes out. We see Carmella then come from behind, attack her. So it looks like Sasha Banks is going to deal with Carmella, but Bayley's still floating out there. So we'll see how that goes. Otis got pissed off at Dolph and Bobby Roode backstage making fun of him. Challenged Dolph to a match and kind of beat Dolph pretty easily.
Good match, though.
Yeah,
I was entertained.
But I mean, it was kind of like a rematch from WrestleMania because they do have history together.
That's right.
Right? I mean, the whole Mandy Rose stuff.
I forgot that was a match.
Yeah, so they have
I
history.
remember the moment over the match.
Yeah, so they do have history together. So, but anyway, so we saw, Otis get the victory, which is, like I said, pretty short match, which I was kind of shocking. But hey, good for Otis, kind of getting back on the winning track. What do you think about Chad Gable trying to recruit him for the Alpha Academy? Like,
Sure,
why not?
Is he going to try to
I think that would be an interesting tag team.
train
like
him?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both have amateur
what is-
wrestling backgrounds.
Chad Gable, Shorty G,
Shorty G.
was on Corey Graves' podcast this week, and I guess they both know each other before WWE from amateur wrestling.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So they've been training with each other for years, which I'm going to post sometime on my Instagram page, Pro Wrestling 101. Otis's amateur wrestling stuff, because it's pretty impressive.
Okay.
There was
Hell
a
of an
young
athlete.
I've seen a young picture of him during his amateur wrestling days. He just looks completely different. I mean, he had a shaved head, no beard, nothing.
Oh, yeah.
But you could. But his neck is so huge.
Nice. That's cool. All right. I'm looking forward to check that out.
Yeah.
Finally, the final chapter between Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins, a no holds barred match. Man, this is a good match.
It was intense.
For as much as we've seen the storyline and this was really good.
Dude, Rey
This was
Mysterio,
really good.
those baseball slides out to the ring and
Smooth.
landing on Seth on top of the stairs. Oh, that was great. No, very hard hitting. I mean, God, these are two of the best, in-ring competitors ever. So, it's going to be a great match. So we're lucky. We got this on a random Friday night versus a pay-per-view. So that's cool. Ultimately,
And it was a pay-per-view quality match.
yeah. So we see Buddy Murphy help up Seth, looks like, and is he going to help him out? Sure enough, he knees him in the face and helps Rey get the victory. Seth runs out, and we see Rey Mysterio shake the hands of Buddy Murphy, kind of give him approval, I guess, being part of the Mysterio family, a.k.a. dating his daughter. And then they take a big family photo at the end, it looks like. I mean, it was kind of like, the way it ended, it felt like the end of a movie, right? It was like a very Hollywood finish. It's like, all right, the bad boy that
It was kind of like the final bow at the end of the play.
Yeah, it's like, okay, like the bad boy that the parents didn't approve, they finally approve him. He wins them over. They shake hands. End of story, ends on a high note. So it felt like you said, just a Hollywood movie ending right there. So, so good for them. I mean, Buddy Murphy, hopefully now he's going to get a babyface run. I don't know. Does Ray's daughter still stay in the picture somehow, like as a manager or something? I don't know. I just, or who knows? Maybe Dominic and Buddy Murphy could be a tag team, a high flying tag team or something.
That could work.
I don't know. We'll see. Real quick, we saw last minute fatal 4-way Survivor Series qualifying match with Tamina, Natty, and Liv Morgan, and finally a debuting Chelsea Green on SmackDown. Unfortunately, Chelsea Green was outside the ropes, got drop kicked by Liv Morgan, landed hard outside, broke her wrist, and was gone rest of the match. So it turned into a 3-way. But even still, Tamina was outside a long time too. So I don't know what was happening. We didn't see it on the camera. So I don't know if she was helping Chelsea. But it really turned into the majority was Liv Morgan versus Natty. So. Yeah.
Did you see how quickly Natty realized something was wrong?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. So when Chelsea's laying there, Liv jumps out and was like going after her, but Natty jumped in to intervene and started beating her up. And I think she probably realized something was wrong and tried to get Liv off her. And
yeah, you could see her looking at Chelsea, and she like immediately, like without like anything, like second nature, she just jumped in there.
Yeah. So, and listen, in that type of situation, they lucked out having Natty in there. The experience.
She is definitely not my favorite wrestler, women's wrestler, but that is as pro as you get.
Absolutely. Right, yeah. Recognizing the situation, having to figure out what to do, save, the match. And like I said, it was almost like a one-on-one match between Liv and Natty for the majority of it. And so I'm sure they were calling it on the fly. And it's good having Natty in there, who's the total experienced pro in there to kind of figure things out.
Let me ask you guys this. What do you think of this for an idea?
Okay.
So we know who's on Team Raw and teams for both of their teams.
Yeah.
I think SmackDown should not tell who the rest of the members are.
See, that's as we were talking about at dinner earlier. It's like, it's interesting. Raw got their teams, men and women, figured out pretty early. Yeah. SmackDown's been taking their time, but I get it. It's two different stories. Raw is like, get the team early and then just focus on the turmoil, the chemistry, and all that stuff, the issues there. While SmackDown, they've been taking their time with the matches, the qualifying matches, and building that up. So it's kind of an interesting storytelling standpoint versus Raw versus SmackDown. I mean,
well, if you remember, NXT did that at the last Survivor Series where they didn't announce who was on any of their sides for the brand tag team matches.
Yeah.
Which I like, kind of.
Yeah.
Like it kind of shows. It would kind of show for Raw that they shot their load too quick because they announced their team so early, and then SmackDown could capitalize on that because they don't know who they're going to wrestle.
It could be interesting. What if maybe the kickoff show for Survivor Series, it's like to figure out the fifth and final spot for like the men and women's teams, something like that.
For SmackDown, though.
For SmackDown, yeah. I don't know. I mean, just thinking it outside the box, maybe that's how they really drag it out, because they have one more episode left before Survivor Series, so they gotta finish picking out the team. So it's Bianca Belair, the Riot Squad, so Liv and Ruby Riot, and so yeah, they have two more spots left.
And you've got to imagine it has to be Bayley, because maybe Tamina got hurt. We know Chelsea got hurt. They just fired Zelina, so who's left on SmackDown?
Yeah, it's. I mean. Yeah, what's her oh my god, the former Marine Army,
Lacey Evans is on Raw now.
Yeah, she's on Raw. Yeah,
Dana Brooks on Raw now. Naomi's on Raw now.
SmackDown's a little thin right now.
they might just have to pull from NXT.
Maybe, yeah. Let's see how that goes. So, we wish Chelsea Green speed recovery. She posted on Instagram. She went to the hospital right away for surgery or whatever, cast up, so it looks like she'll be out 6 to 8 weeks. It sucks. When she debuted on NXT, broke her wrist, was out for 2 months. Broke her wrist, debut on SmackDown, going to be out, looks like 2 months. So it's just bad luck, and wish her a speedy recovery. She is very talented, and I think she would be a great addition to the SmackDown roster.
Yeah, so she's an asset to SmackDown.
Absolutely. I just kind of wish Robert Stone was there to still manage her.
God.
He'd be great on SmackDown.
Oh, my God.
So last but not least, the main event, we saw Drew McIntyre take on Jey Uso in the unsanctioned match. Dude, great match for Drew. Like, just showing off his strength, athleticism. Like, he was in the corner upside down, pulled himself up with his core, picked up Jey, threw him. I mean, Drew looked amazing here as far as just showing off his strength, and just, for anyone who maybe doesn't watch Raw regularly, I think it was a great promotion for him. why he's such a great WWE champion, or was WWE champion, and also probably just promoting the matchup against Randy on Monday. What do you think of Drew's performance?
Stellar. I mean, I think for Jay as well.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's holding up an action figure, folks.
a
doll. Danny's playing with his dolls again. Yeah, he's playing with his. Now Tommy's playing with the doll.
Yeah. We should put something in this corner here, like action figure something. But no, I was a great. I loved it. Drew McIntyre looked great, and it was awesome. And what do you have in your room? We're looking. Oh yeah, you got that artwork.
I got Tony Soprano with a horse, and he's wearing like a general's outfit.
Yeah, awesome. So I love real quick. So I love earlier in the night when Jay challenged Drew. I love the following segment where Roman got into Jay's face and be like yelling. It's like, why'd you do that? That's my business. Why are you trying to get in my business? I make the matches, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I like him like yelling, being really angry. It was like really heelish.
And then he did that during the match when Jay was outside the ring. He goes up to him and tells him to go show him who you are.
Yeah.
Don't beat him. Go show him who you are.
Yeah.
He started pummeling him.
Yeah.
But now Jay lost. So, dude, like I feel bad for Jay. Like what's next? Is Roman gonna be like pissed off? Like you get in my business, you lose, you're making us look bad, and I don't know. Like we could do maybe predictions later next week.
The plot thickens.
Yeah, dude. Like this story is really taken off between Jay and Roman here. So I'm loving it. And so no, great showing for Drew. It's yet to be seen if Drew and Roman are going to be at Survivor Series or whatnot, or Randy Orton. So we'll wait and see and break it all down on the next episode. So. On that note, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Another fun week in WWE TV. So a lot to look forward to for next week. Richard, where can all the Kliqsters find you online?
You can find me at Pro Wrestling 101 on Instagram. And please give Bounty Hunter Brothers a follow. They do our opening music. They are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Bounty Hunter Brothers.
Bounty Hunter Brothers. Sounds like a good tag team name.
There you go.
U-Haul Brothers versus Bounty Hunter.
I mean, we could be Bounty Hunter Brothers, and we'll take on Danny and Jimbo.
The U-Haul?
U-Haul Brothers.
Yeah,
Tommy,
the U-Haul Brothers.
Where can the Kliqsters find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at IronFist1982.
Follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey83. And you know by now, follow In The Kliq, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, intthekliq@gmail.com. Check out a couple episodes ago, my interview with Alex Hammerstone, the current MLW National Openweight Champion. Talked about a lot of stuff. It's also on YouTube. Watch it there. Please share that interview and watch the restart from MLW. Their fusion, their show's coming back this Wednesday, November 18th. Tune in. It's going to be on YouTube, their YouTube page. Subscribe there. Also on Fubo Sports. They got a new deal with Pluto TV.
The Zone
24/7, Bean Sports.
Are these real companies?
Yeah.
Yes.
All these different streaming services. So there's plenty of ways. And I have all the info on our social media handles at In The Kliq. You can check out all the info there in the link. So a lot of good stuff. And on
Court Bauer, call me. You have my number.
We should try to do something with Court Bauer. I would love to talk to him. There's a lot to talk about with MLW. So I'm really excited for the restart and what's in store from MLW and all that stuff, Contra Unit, all that. I cannot wait. The Von Erich, it's going to be so good. Okay, on that note, let's go home, and that's the bottom line because Huey said so.